here. Welcome to Joanna Angelis Spiritist Society, our Monday Talks. My name is Ricardo Grandos, and I'm going to share this very interesting topic, fair and happy society. I want to, since we just had this beautiful prayer by our friend Daisy, I want to ask you to, if you're not driving and if you are able to close your eyes right now, and imagine this connection with a superior being, that somebody whom you trust, somebody who is very special to you. It could be Jesus, or it could be any other person or saint or angel of your choice. And imagine that he or she came to you and asked you, what is your idea of happiness? Now you formulate your answer back to him or to her. And then he gives you a very meaningful look with love and respect, and replies back to you, I know of it. But what I want to know is, what would make you personally truly happy? Now it's the opportunity to look into your heart, connect to your deepest feelings. What does happiness really means to you? Okay, so now you can open your eyes again, bringing this answer. We're gonna use it for tonight. Thank you so much for participating. It's a gift for you to go deep inside. And so,
Ricardo, before you started, I don't know if for the other ones, but for me, when you start talking, it's making a noise, and I cannot understand what you're saying. Like zoom.
There is a swish, like
Yeah.
it's sort of like a water coming back and forth.
My computer.
Sorry about that,
Fan
Ricardo.
is on.
Yeah,
My computer
sorry,
fan is on.
Ricardo, but I don't want to be here not understand what you're saying.
I think it's cooled down now. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it is better. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. So I'm gonna be aware if my computer noise goes on again. And maybe I'll make my screen smaller. Hopefully my computer is gonna be personally truly happy for this presentation. So I'm gonna start before even going to the concepts. This is a story I shared with you before. It's in the book Jesus in the Home by Neil Lucio, by this psychographed by Chico Xavier, Brazilian medium. And very similar to what we talked earlier on this exercise. Jesus was reunited with his friends and men and women, and Thaddeus, a loving disciple, was arguing about happiness and things that would be impediments for happiness at their time, like the conquerors, the Roman empire, the priests of the Sanhedrin. And Jesus listened to him patiently, and once he was done, he was like arguing with his rebelliousness against the power of his time, about the powerful people, how we could not be happy because of their what they were doing. And then Jesus asked Thaddeus, what is your idea of happiness? And Thaddeus, Lord, happiness is peace for all. But then Jesus asked him back with this meaningful look in his eyes, with love and kindness. I'm aware of that. But what would make you personally truly happy? And so then Thaddeus talked about his struggles of his daily life, that he met with family members with sarcasms, and people would reply with indifference with him, or would be very harsh with him. And so he would dream of a world where people understand each other, people took care of each other, accepted him, if even though he had his mistakes, but he had a true good intention. He has his goodwill. He wanted to be accepted and respected by others. So in summary, he proposed, I would like to be understood, respected, and held in esteem by others. And isn't what would truly makes us happy too? If all of our family members would act with acceptance, respect, especially the ones that live so close to us, like children and spouses, respect us, understands us, to respect and to understand us, and to have kindness, and to have respectful words, encouraging words, and same thing at our jobs, and same thing with the rest of society. We would be delighted, right? And so Jesus, he was expecting Jesus come with a long answer, and Jesus' answer was very short but very meaningful. If you desire happiness from the entire world, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Respect others, understand others, held them in esteem, forgive their mistakes, accept them as they are and not as you wish they were. If everyone would follow that rule, we would be very quickly spread the glories of heaven across the earth. We would very quickly spread the glories of heaven across the earth. So this is the recipe of happiness. First, we ask ourselves, what is happiness to me? Then we go deep. What does it truly, really mean, happiness for me? Then practice this to others. And we will develop the muscles of happiness inside of us. Because similar to the Karate Kid, when he practiced the cleaning the car or painting the walls, he is practicing his muscles. And then when he needs them for the karate, they are strong and the reflexes are there. And so when we practice loving others, we are practicing the same muscle, the spiritual muscle of love. So then when we have a mistake, we are easier to forgive ourselves. When we go wrong, we have more understanding, more acceptance. So this is the recipe. And once we practice it, then people around us at their own time will harvest the seeds that we are sowing in their heart. They will feel more loved, more respected, more understood. And this should encourage them to do the same. And as a whole family earth, the day will come where we all will be practicing this very simple but deep and type of work that require a lot of efforts on ourselves. So this is the recipe for happiness given by Jesus for us to build the fair and happy society that we are looking forward. And I brought here some concepts from science to connect the recipe of happiness by Jesus. And we're gonna kind of review what the Spiritist doctrine talks about, the necessity of society and family, and a proposal by the Spiritist doctrine for us to build a new kind of family. Does it sound good? I can't see many faces. I only see 3 faces, including mine. But these faces saying sounds good. So recapping the recipe for happiness. Oh, now I see more faces. Okay, Dani, Bruno. So the recipe for happiness is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I always talk about this documentary made in 2011 based on a few decades of scientific research regarding happiness. And there is a lot of books. There are courses online. There are college courses and about what are the things that we all can define our happiness. And I brought here a little summary again. They say that our happiness is defined 50% by our genetic material. So we have the genes for happiness, for depression, and then life circumstances, they affect in 10%. The social environment, you were born, your family, your social status, your money, if you inherit a lot of money from parents or not, they have a 10% fraction of the whole pie. And 40% of our happiness can be defined by our intentional actions. And they go in the documentary and the books, I believe, also will describe the different ways that people can act to feel happiness. And one of the most important ones is also presented by a TED Talk based on a research by Harvard in like 75 years of human behavior, that cultivating meaningful relationship can be the most important element to drive our happiness. So cultivating love and being the best that you can, show that you care and do really care for your friends or family or even strangers, they can drive our happiness a lot. For example, practicing compassion, unconditional love, charity makes us feel at peace. Practicing gratitude, a connection to a higher sense of purpose or to a higher being, gives us a lot of happiness, makes us cry of happiness. And this is some of the results of the scientific research. And just bringing a little bit of Spiritism back to it, Spiritism should walk ahead of science, because Spiritism also is based on revelation. And scientists, they also receive revelation, but they have to prove. And so Spiritist proof happens through the universality of the teachings, for example, by congruence with science, congruence with our intellectual and our moral. So bringing Spiritism to science, this 50% of genetic material and the 10% of life circumstances, even though they materially seem out of our control, it is based on our past choices. Our past lives will define our program, our reincarnation program. So before we reincarnate, we choose the type of body, the type of diseases or problems, the more serious ones, of course, and the type of challenges that we're going to have in life. So we make this choice too. So we actually have 100% of control, even though we may not be aware of that. So this is the glimpse on happiness, connecting to do unto others what you would have them do to you. And then so if happiness is connected to being in society, let us see what Spiritism says about life in society. Kardec asked the spirits, is social life founded in nature? Okay, I see some yeses. Thank you, Adriana. Certainly, God made human beings to live in society. Where is the proof? So here, as I see here faces, I can see some eyes staring at the computer, I believe, or at a phone. I can see a few smiles. You can see ears. Some people are using glasses. So the proof is in our faces. We have 2 ears. The main function of the ears is to listen. Of course, to listen to danger, right? That's probably how our ancestors got their ears in the first place. But in our mouth, besides eating, we can also speak. And not just repeat sounds, for example, to hunt, but to coordinate the sounds in a very complex way to communicate. And even more, our faces have so many muscles that they're used not just to survival activities, but to communicate. A smile is a mix of how many muscles that we need to move unconsciously to create a smile. And so this is the answer. The proof is the philosophical proof. God has given human beings speech and other faculties they need for social life, for a purpose. So we were not giving speech and communication skills if there wasn't a higher purpose for that. So what is the purpose? So this is the comment by Allan Kardec on the question 768. Through social union, human beings complete one another and mutually secure their well-being and progress. So we are not complete. We don't have all the skills. So life in society is also material necessity because it helps us to be happier, help us to have less of the hard work. Imagine if all of us had to hunt or to plant our food, to collect, to conserve, to go get water, to bring to our home, or to live nearby a river, to produce an energy or electricity, even to discover how to use electricity or to manipulate in a safe way. Imagine all the things that we depend on our society. If we had to do them all, we wouldn't have time to rest, we wouldn't have time to read. So the living in society, besides the material progress, it also gives us peace of mind and gives us time also to focus on our progress. We wouldn't have technology to see each other here online if we had to do so many of the hard work individually. And as a society, we help each other. So back to the question is, we mutually complete each other, serve each other, and that's also important for our progress. And Kardec finishes that because we need one another, or in his words, because they need one another, they have been created for a living society and not in isolation. And at this time, we are in March 1st, 2021, more than a year in the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. Some places even started earlier. I believe here in California, the first known case was February, but some people may question that. There might be other cases that were not known. So here the Spirit saying that isolation, like if we were to live totally in isolation, that would be a step back into the progress of human beings. And so how do we do that? Now we are required and asked to be in isolation, right? In social isolation, to protect ourselves, our physical bodies, to protect those who are close to us, like households or great parents or people who are in a very sensitive group, and also to protect each other. Because even if I don't get the symptoms, and if I don't have anybody who is at risk in my home, but if I just act without respect for the pandemic, I might spread, and it might reach people who are in a serious risk. One thing we are doing here is we are reunited members of the Spiritist Society, Joanna de Angelis Spiritist Society, and guests too. We are here reunited to connect, to help each other, to love one another. So connect with your family, connect to those who you don't have the best relationship, to practice forgiveness, connect to those who you love, to tell them that you love them, connect to friends, make new friends. We still can do this online and find creative ways to keep distancing and still to be connected. And then Kardec goes in the same chapter talking about the family ties. Are human family ties a law of nature? And why he asked this question? Because people would say, see, animals, their parents are very gentle to their children. But once they grow up, and that happens super fast compared to human beings, not even years for many animals, it could be days or months, then they kind of forget the family ties. They may even eat each other or reproduce without consideration of being father and son and daughter. So can we infer by looking at nature and say that the family ties are creation of human beings? And the answer of the spirits, human beings have something different than animals. Human beings have another type of need that goes beyond the physical needs, the need of progress. We need to progress because we spirits that have free will, intelligence, we have the moral sense. We can discern the good and the wrongdoing. We can make choices and we can act based on our choices. We are connected now in a higher level to the law of progress, to progress intellectually and morally. And so the family ties strengthen the social ties. And if social ties are necessary for progress, so family ties are even more important. God wants men and women to learn to one on another as brothers and sisters. So then we connect back to the recipe for happiness, to love one another, doing what I would want people to do to me to make me truly happy. It's not just happy like, oh, I would be happy if I won the lottery. So let us make everybody win the lottery. Because that's not what makes me truly happy. There are other things that can impact my happiness because winning the lottery has been proven through the time that it can drive people to their ruin or to happiness, depending on the use. So it's still the end of the day, still the use of the material resources they receive. So here, what I wanted to connect to finish the second part is that to live in a society and practice the law of charity, loving one another as brothers and sisters, helps us to develop our inner happiness, according to Jesus and according to science too. And God wants us to live in families to learn to love one another as brothers and sisters. So God gives us families because God wants us to be happy. So this is the summary or second part. And now to the final part, a proposal for the new family according to Spiritism. I want to go back here because if we talk about if family was given to us to help us to be happy, do we all live in happy families in this planet? So let us go back a little bit. And Kardec, Jesus said, in the mansion of my father, in the house of my father, there are many mansions or there are many rooms. And Kardec explains that can also be referred at different inhabited worlds of the universe. And there are the primitive worlds, there are the trials and expiations, regeneration, happy worlds, and divine worlds. So we for sure, we're not divine, we're not perfect yet, we're far away from that. We're also not primitive, simple, ignorant spirits anymore. Now, are we happy world? Are we in the trial, expiation, regeneration? So my argument here is that we've been in the lockdown for more than a year now. Is this everybody's choice? Do we all want to be locked down without seeing our friends, without hugging each other? So this is a trial for sure, and perhaps an expiation. And according to many spiritist speakers and mediums, this expiation actually is to help us to advance into the process of regeneration. Of course, the regeneration happens within us. So as the picture here, we have Magdalene. Her regeneration started when she met Jesus. She was hungry for love and Jesus gave her the recipe and she followed the recipe. So she started her regeneration way back. She could be incarnated in a higher world, in a happy world now, or she could be here helping us either as a discarnated spirit or as incarnated spirit. So we're gonna consider that we are in a planet of trial and expiations, and our families here are so then families of trials and expiations. The family starts with, family is the cell of the society, start with marriage. Joanna de Angelis says, a spirit that's a mentor spirit of our house, Joanna de Angelis, spirit of society, and also she psychographs books. She writes books through Divaldo Franco, Brazilian medium. She says marriage is a laboratory for emotional readjustments. and a shop for moral reparations. We had a talk, Danny talked about marriage, I talked about divorce, and it brought this idea back. So in the marriage, we have two free wills in the same level, horizontal relationship, and they have to agree upon many important things that affect their lives. So this is a very good exercise to readjust emotions, to readjust the frustration, patience, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, but also as a marriage of trials and expiations could be opportunity for moral reparations. The things we did in the past lives, now they are calling for our attention right now. And same thing happens to our family environment. Joanna de Angelis says domestic impediments are rooted in the spirit's need to experience problems or blessings that were produced in the past activities. Same thing happens between parents and children, between siblings. We are here to learn to love one another, but also we are faced with the challenges that we created for ourselves with our past choices. So how can we get there to transform a family of trial and expiation in a family of happy one, in a happy family? So I do see that I'm going to, if you guys allow me, I'm going to recap. Talk about society by the Spirit Emmanuel. Emmanuel says that society is a forest of mental creations, where each spirit finds a reflection of himself. So if you imagine all of us, like our material life, our body, the elements, the exterior elements, the 10% of our happiness, the exterior events, is the trunk of the tree. And then the top of the tree is our mental creations, our choices, our feelings, our beliefs, the thoughts that we keep repeating to each other. So a society of the happy world, these branches are interconnected. The stronger is helping the weaker, and it's exchange of love, of kindness. But in a world of child's expiation, sometimes the branches are hurting each other and they are affecting each other. And then the other part of this message is that the spirit finds the reflection of himself. And the reflection happens to the ones and the events that we attract to meet, because those events and these ones that we meet, they are there for a reason that's related to our need of progress, based on the choices that we have done in the past that we haven't changed yet. So we need them to remind us to make different choices. And so in this talk about society, I brought this, and I'm going to bring it back again. That's this idea. Emmanuel says, a spirit, superior spirit, through Chico Xavier says, when the time comes to the account that happens in the moment of death or after death, when we recap the facts and choices of your life, and then you recap, what was the balance? Did I get better? Did I stay the same? Did I contract more debts? We harvest the result of our behavior. And then we make the program for our next reincarnation. And many times we need to restart again and restart again and restart again in the plan of regenerate our attitudes and purify our sentiments. So now we make a plan to create new tree tops in order to rebuild destinies. And because of the law of cause and effect, we will meet those events that are very tied to our choices in the past. As an example, those who financially oppress others in society, they return in misery and fortune to learn to value respect for the material resources and brotherhood. How about those who enslave societies? They come back to receive them. Apologize, there is a typo here that was fixed. Fixed didn't come. As their children. Those who were racist, separatists, they come back as or in the hated skin to learn to love one another in respect of the exterior appearances. So now back into our talk. How can we get there? Joanna de Angelis make this proposal for us to start to embrace our family, especially the closer ones in our home, as the sanctuary of human life. And how do we deal with a sanctuary with so much love and care? In a sanctuary, sometimes you ask to don't remove your shoes because you want to be clean. So remove our shoes of our ego when we talk to another so we can talk in a clean way. In a sanctuary, you walk with more care, so we make choices with more care in the sanctuary of our home. And change the concept of living in a battlefield, in the supremacy of ego, like especially couples, and sometimes happens between parents and kids and between siblings. Changing this perspective of fighting with each other into a sanctuary of human life. We are all here growing like flowers in this sanctuary of a garden together to become beautiful trees. And regarding education, is an act of love and not a means of intimidation. Like parents, we have authority over children. We represent God to them. And so we gotta be very careful how we use this authority. And the best ways is through our example. And once we make the changes here that we wanna see on our children, they will follow our example. And this is how we drive them to God. So Joanna de Angelis makes this proposal, which I call the proposal for a new family. And she says that if we change this perspective, then those tragic domestic incidents will give way to a just, equitable, and happy society. As for example, she argues that many criminals, besides the case of the DNA, which was past lives, or obsession, most of the cases, they were creating families that were abusive or neglecting. And so when they grow up, they carry these projections, this rebelliousness and this hatred against the rest of the world. And so if their home was dealt as a sanctuary of love, if parents practice loving one another, then we would prevent this tragic instance in our society, and we will reform our society. It's going to be very different. So recapping, we talk about the rescue for happiness, do to others as you would have them do to you. But first we ask, what is happiness to me? And what does it really mean to me? And then we practice. And then we saw how science has shown already that these teachings are up to date and they are valid to us. They're effective. There are many examples. Watch the documentary to find some examples. Talk to people who are happy. And you will see it is related to nurturing meaningful relationships, loving unconditionally. And then we talk about how we do need society to progress and for our well-being. And family makes this need possible to achieve by practicing, learning and practicing to love one another as brothers and sisters. And then following that, we will create a new family and we will transition into a happy world. We're gonna have happy families. So part of our job. Thank you, everybody. I'm very happy for sharing this study with you tonight. And now I'm gonna do our final prayer. And